This is international superstar Flip Gordon, and you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
When they're not covering the sports world, they're talking about the world of professional wrestling.
It's Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Now, with Justin Simmons, here's Stu Myrick.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the Horn. Stu Myrick, Justin the Smash Simmons. You're a bit sleepy.
Didn't I just see you, yesterday?
You did. If you're hearing this on Wednesday, it would be Monday night. Yes, we were together. Got to go to Cap City Comedy Club to witness the Nice Day tour with the one and only hardcore legend, Mick Foley. Great show, and we'll talk about that in the next segment. Plus, you'll get to hear our conversation.
Did he ever say right here in Austin, Texas? He teased it.
I don't think he did.
I don't think he used it once.
I don't think he said he was going to. I don't think he ever did.
Yeah, well,
but the crowd didn't seem too disappointed.
No, everybody was there, had a really great time.
Yeah, so like I said, we'll cover that in the next segment, and you'll hear our conversation. We had to get to talk to him after the show, and great conversation. It was great to catch up with the Hall of Famer.
Are you kidding? I just appreciate the time. He was there for a little bit after
the
show.
Yeah, he stayed there for a while.
Yeah.
So, I'm the guy, because I love the NFL, I'm the guy that watches the NFL draft. I've been lucky enough to cover the NFL draft, covered it last year when it was in Arlington at Jerry World. As it stands now, I think I'm going to Las Vegas for the draft with Bucky and Aaron. So,
or are you just putting that out there right now?
No. Actually, I think
Bucky,
the plans are in motion.
Come on,
Bucky, Godbolt, and I have been on the phone, so the plans are in motion. Let's put it that way. So
you need to take the young buck. You need to take me.
I
can have fun for I can have fun for everyone.
Well, and I'm going to try to tie it. I'm going to try to extend it to where I stay there for because the draft is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, late in April. And then you turn around and Colorful Alley Club reunion starts the following Monday.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to try to change that up and try to extend that to where I can do both.
Wow. I might have to just road trip it.
Yeah, it'll be a blast. The WWE draft, on the other hand, the last time they did this, which, unless I'm mistaken, wasn't it like 2018?
I really don't know.
And it was, they made a big deal about the draft, and then 4 months in, we started having the wild card rule. So, they promoted this year's, heavily. I mean, because it was going to cross 2 networks. It was going to start on SmackDown and finish on Raw. And they were talking about the network executives from Fox and USA Network were going to be, handling the picks. And, they were all in on this. And for all the hullabaloo and all the rigmarole and all the fanfare, in the end, everybody ended up pretty much kind of where they are. You had the champions stayed with their respective brands. Seth Rollins still on Raw as a Universal Champion. Brock Lesnar still on SmackDown as WWE Champion. Both women's champions stay on their respective brands. The tag team champions. You even had picks like no tag teams got split up. Which they almost always have one, at least one tag team.
They already mentioned that one tag team constituted
right,
one pick,
unless they decided to pick an individual from that tag team. But they didn't. They went with tag teams. New Day is staying on SmackDown. You've got
and that's a whole 3 people.
Yeah, you've got Lucha House Party staying on SmackDown. You've got the Kabuki Warriors, Viking Raiders on Raw. So it was kind of like, okay, sure. No surprises. Nobody from NXT got drafted.
Well, I guess
a lot of free agents. Technically, you could say Street Profits, but they've been on Raw just doing backstage
Well, I
segments.
was glad to
so
see that guys from 205 Live got called up.
That's
essentially.
true. Yeah, 205 Live.
Especially the really, like, from what I've seen on 205 Live, the cream of the crop. Like, Drew Gulak, he got to SmackDown. Tozawa, I really like what he's been doing.
Right. Tozawa's going to Raw.
Yeah.
Humberto Carrillo's going to Raw.
Well, I thought Carrillo was going to go to SmackDown, and he's going to be like the next Rey Mysterio. Because Rey Mysterio went to Raw.
No, he was drafted round 3 on Monday night to Raw, which was kind of interesting. I thought he would have gone to SmackDown too, but be that as it may, it was the picks were kind of like, okay, sure. What about the presentation? You had the cutaways with the Fox NFL Sunday guys, with Terry Bradshaw and Howie Long and those guys. You had on Monday night they had the NHL on NBC crew.
I think I need to
they even had the Premier League guys.
I know. I think I need to answer your question with a question. Were you not entertained? As a sports fan, were you not entertained by the fact that these guys that you see on a normal sports day were covering the one thing that you never thought in your whole lifetime, in your entire lifetime, at Chas Hastings, in his entire lifetime, that they would be talking about, and just casually just be talking about
C. Hastings 1049 on Twitter. So, Chad and Kevin, weekdays 3 to 7 on the Horn. Yes and no. It was kind of neat to see them on there. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman were on there.
Come on. I mean, they asked for Joe Buck. Everybody asked for Joe Buck after we saw Aaron Andrews, and then we got Joe Buck, and now everybody's going to be dissatisfied with the fact that we got Joe Buck. I mean, come on. Are we never happy?
Never happy. Come on.
And then,
it's a wrestling fan. You're never happy.
No, but, I have to admit, it does seem almost unfairly in some instances where a lot of people are kind of dogging the WWE. I know it's not been great, and granted, some of it's been rather questionable recently, not in like the distasteful way, but rather in like, why did they go in that direction type of way. But I feel like people are just hating on it just to hate on it, though. Like, that's what's in style right now, because AEW's the new kid on the block. It's kind of like Toy Story, Buzz Lightyear's in town. Woody gets kind of pushed to the shelf. Everybody's cool about Woody. Even all the other new toys were cool with Woody,
Yeah.
That's what it kind of feels like.
Yeah. I'm not saying it was bad. There were moments when it felt forced, which I guess you expect, because again,
that's WWE though.
Look, Joe Buck does not watch Monday Night Raw.
Of course not.
Troy Aikman does not watch SmackDown. Jim Cramer from CNBC doesn't watch wrestling. Yeah, they're lines. It's fine.
And they're not actors necessarily.
It was the funny thing was the quote war rooms for SmackDown Raw. Because you had the war room. You had SmackDown War Room with Fox executives. You had Cletus.
Yeah.
The Fox robot.
And why not?
The mascot.
If this was New Japan, everybody would be like, oh, look at the cute mascot.
Well, yeah, and Fox does that. Everything they do, when it comes to Fox Sports, when they do stuff like this, they always have Cletus. I've seen him at the Super Bowl.
I know.
I've had a picture with him at the Super Bowl.
He makes it to the state Texas high school football playoffs.
He does. He really does.
I'm not joking about that.
No, come on. I've done 3 championship games. I've done 5, actually.
I was going to say, I've seen him at the state finals.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. It was fine. I mean, I was just, I don't know. I guess I didn't have as much a problem as some people. Some people just, like you said, they just.
I can understand if you don't watch
I think
sports.
It's just piling on WWE.
But I mean, this is what they must. Well, are these people that are complaining about this Johnny Come Latelys, or are they the people that have been watching this product since the very beginning? Because we all know that the WWE is kind of like the stepchild. They just yearn to be accepted by mainstream people, like mainstream celebrities, mainstream media, whatever they can get themselves tied to something good and get full publicity from all the talking heads that would not normally be talking about the product. They yearn in almost a kind of way where it's where it's almost looks desperate.
Yes, you're absolutely
and
right.
That's what kind of kills it for people, where they're trying to be cool and sometimes they kind of miss. And other times, though, they hit.
It was worth a shot. And it's been talked a lot about how Fox wants a more sports sports-centric presentation of SmackDown.
It's supposed to feel like NFL Sunday.
It is. And that's why you had, for instance, a sight I never thought I'd see, Urban Meyer, the former Ohio State coach.
Were you not entertained?
Now he's on the Fox Big Noon Saturday, the college football coverage.
I didn't realize that existed.
He was talking about, I think he mentioned Roman Reigns. And I'm going, does he even know who Roman Reigns is?
He might. He did play college football.
Urban Meyer is biding his time until he gets the next coaching gig.
You don't think he coached against him while Roman Reigns played at Georgia Tech? I'll have to go look.
We'll see.
But I mean, it's totally plausible.
Maybe
he would have been coaching while he was playing.
He was at Florida. He wasn't at Florida State. And Florida's in the SEC. Florida State's ACC. And yeah, Roman Reigns played for Georgia Tech. He was an all ACC defensive tackle. No, the end, I mean. So he might have been aware of him. I don't know.
Exactly. I was like, what about if he had scouted
But he may have been aware of him as Joe Anoa'i, not Roman Reigns.
Well, he knows who the guy is.
But yeah, so it was fine. I mean, it was what it was. It was fine. I think what fell a little flat was having Stephanie come out and just read each round. There was no, like used to. They would show up on the Titantron, and you'd see, round 2, pick 3, and they'd do the roulette and then stop on.
Oh,
ABC
okay.
Superstar.
Well, I guess
there wasn't a lot of bells and whistles.
It should have been. Yeah, I'll give you that. It should have been more NBA draft lottery
little
style,
bit.
at least if that's what they were going for. They're just trying to knock them out.
It felt like the Saturday picks at the NFL draft.
Yeah.
They're where it's just
they have no choice. They have to get this all rushed.
True.
So they were kind of forced, and they kind of built the whole show around the draft. So it was just they had to kind of cram it all in, and believe it or not, even 3 hours really wasn't enough.
So
to get everything set in stone, because we still have a lot of free agents.
Absolutely. We do have a lot of undrafted. As of right now, and again, we're talking Tuesday night when we record this.
Yeah, like Friday can change.
Undrafted so far. AOP, interesting because they've been featuring them on these vignettes. Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder. Dana Brooke, Drake Maverick. Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose, Fire and Desire. Luke Harper did not get drafted, even though Eric Rowan did get drafted to Raw. Mojo Rawley, No Way Jose, Sarah Logan, The Iconics, and Cesaro.
Yeah, Cesaro's like the big omission. And it's like, why does he keep on getting snubbed? And is he really just going to go back to NXT? I mean, if Finn Balor's going to NXT, I would love to see Cesaro. Everybody's pining for the King of Swings reunion.
Yeah, with him and Cassius Ohno.
Yeah,
a.k.a. Chris Hero.
You wouldn't pay to watch it?
Sure.
I mean, although I do feel at this point in time,
one of the better tag teams in Ring of Honor history.
True, but at this point in time, though, I feel that Cesaro has already kind of paid his dues in the tag team division with Sheamus. I think he really should deserve to be holding some gold at this point in his career.
Yeah, I do.
Like
I think
really
a lot of people do.
It's
just for whatever reason he's always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
Well, can we both agree though that I'm glad that Shinsuke Nakamura is still holding gold, and now we have the two. We have the Kabuki Warriors holding gold as well.
That's
Usually
true.
They kind of fumble, and it looked like they were starting to fumble their Japanese talent away. And now instead we've seen Tozawa get drafted to Raw. We have Kota Ibushi tearing it up in NXT. And
you mean Kushida? Kota Ibushi's getting ready for Wrestle Kingdom.
Sorry, I was watching some list for Ibushi. I don't know. He always comes to mind first. You never.
Well,
know.
he was in the Cruiserweight Classic.
That's right.
But he is now, of course, getting ready
Kushida and Walter
face Okada in January.
That was interesting. I would like to see more Kushida. I think he's going to do really well in NXT.
Yeah, I've been a big fan of Kushida.
It's good to see that the Japanese wrestlers are holding gold, and it shows that they're at least trying to.
Yes.
Make them. I think what it is, though, they might be starting to think about extending themselves into Japan territory.
Right, and that's been the talk for months and months and months now. Was that they established NXT UK. Mm-hmm. They were looking to establish an NXT Japan. Whether that's buying a current promotion like Pro Wrestling Noah or DDT Pro or Dragon Gate or something like that. But it hasn't come to fruition yet. So we'll wait and see.
That's got to be interesting, though. It's kind of like, wow, now the WWE wants to not just invade Japan, but they want to set up shop in the same country and take them head on.
Well, but they haven't yet. And I'm to the point where it's kind of like, okay, I'll believe it when I see it. Until then,
I'm pretty sure it's going to happen sooner rather than later.
I
Everybody's
think,
about global expansion, and as we have seen with the NBA this week, people are willing to swallow words when it comes to humane rights.
True.
And just be civil humans about certain things. Regardless
WWE does it every year with Saudi Arabia.
Exactly. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see more globalization from the WWE as quickly as possible as new markets open up. We've already seen them work with China as they promote Chinese wrestlers.
Yes.
And with, I'm not saying that I sit there and read The Atlantic every day, but with the economic status of India becoming what many predict to become the next economic superpower, they're really trying to make a play to get into India as well.
Remember, Impact Wrestling tried that during the Dixie Carter era.
And they were ahead of their time.
Yeah, I mean,
sometimes people have bad timing.
Yeah, it just wasn't time, but I think it was a good move. We have already had one quote blockbuster trade. If you caught WWE backstage, they did a sneak preview of the new show with Renee Young and our good friend Booker T. It was on FS1, followed the Astros game, by the way. Congratulations, Astros. Get the big win. Triple H came on, and they've been rumoring this blockbuster trade. The blockbuster trade was Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross being traded from Raw to SmackDown for future considerations and draft picks.
I think you're kind of undercutting the trade. Those two ladies were just recently the Raw Tag Team Champions.
I mean, the Women's Tag Team Champions, yes. And yes, and that's
that's a major portion of the show.
It's a great trade. So is it a blockbuster?
Blockbuster in the sense for SmackDown?
I mean, is that a blockbuster trade?
I think if they're former champions, why not? I gave it some extra thought.
Okay.
Maybe not as blockbuster as John Cena.
Right. Well, and I think
is that what you were expecting?
It wasn't what I expect. I didn't know what to expect. Quite frankly,
I
have stopped trying to expect anything from WWE.
Exactly. I was going to say
after Hell in a Cell.
I think expectations are too high right now.
Yeah. Maybe.
And I granted they should be, though, in the sense where, hey, they just got all this new money, Pyro's back, new set changes, but it still hasn't really hit where it counts yet in the storyline department.
Right.
Necessarily. Not saying that all of them have been bad. There's been some pretty good stuff.
And understand they've been probably kind of treading water until after the draft to start new storylines.
Well, we all know that they're kind of setting up for Crown Jewel, and then it looks like they're going to get a reset. But it's kind of odd to be seeing Survivor Series style matches right before Survivor Series.
I agree. Speaking of changes, another change that came down. You remember when they made the big deal about Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff being hired as executive directors? Mm-hmm. Paul Heyman for Raw, Eric Bischoff for SmackDown. Well, 4 months in, they've already made a change. Eric Bischoff is out. Bruce Pritchard is in as SmackDown executive director. They announced this on Tuesday. Pritchard, this is from their press release, Pritchard will oversee the creative development of Friday Night SmackDown on Fox and ensure integration across all platforms and lines of business, replacing Eric Bischoff. And it was confirmed, it was reported by John Pollock from Post Wrestling and confirmed by Eric that Eric, in fact, is no longer with WWE.
It's not Vince Russo, right?
It's not Vince Russo.
Okay, then I'm all right with it.
Yeah. No, I like Bruce Pritchard.
I
think he'll do a fantastic job. It's just interesting that
I mean, what's your definition of fantastic? I mean,
I don't think he'll do a bad job.
Well, do you think he's going to do worse than Eric Bischoff has just done in the last 83 days?
No,
or better.
I don't think there was enough time, and I don't know if they had. I don't know if they had in mind what that role was going to because remember they said they had hired Eric Bischoff because of his experience with
product.
Connecting with a network.
Yeah.
With what he did with WCW and TNT. So I don't know. I don't know what happened, and I hope Eric goes back to Montana and goes fly fishing and flies his plane and has a happy life. And I hope Bruce Pritchard does a wonderful job on SmackDown. We'll see.
I mean, they can only go anywhere else but up at this point, right?
That's true. One other note from this week on Raw, and we could not be more proud. We've known them as War Machine. We've known them as the War Raiders. The Viking Raiders defeat Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler. Viking Raiders have now added the Raw Tag Team Championships to their lengthy resume.
Yeah.
They said the first tag team to win those titles undefeated, and the first ones to hold the IWGP, Ring of Honor, NXT, and Raw Tag Team titles.
I know, it's rather crazy, isn't it?
I mean, they call them Eric and Ivar. They will always be Ray, Rowan, Hansen to us, and could not be happier for those guys. You and I know, intimately how hard Ray Rowe has worked towards this, and just thrilled. Yeah. Absolutely thrilled for those guys. And let's hope they get a lengthy and fruitful run as Raw Tag Team champions.
Expectations.
I know.
I was like...
But one can hope. One can hope. When we come back from this timeout, we are going to hear from Mick Foley. Had a chance to visit with him after his Nice Day Tour show Monday night at Cap City Comedy Club. You'll hear that conversation next on Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Hey, this is the hardcore legend Mick Foley, and you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the horn. Stu Myrick, Justin the Smash Simmons.
We missed a prime opportunity to ask him to read that reader as Cactus Jack and not as Mick Foley. Because he probably would have ended it with the bang bang.
Yeah, I thought about that during the day about getting him to do the bang bang, and it was like, look,
I know
we
it
got
was
him.
late, but
it was late, and the fact that he did it for us,
I know,
after staying, for the show, and then all the VIP meet and greets, and then talking to us.
I was always told he was one of the most legitimately nicest people, to meet ever.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, you could see that he really cared about his fans.
Well, when we were waiting to do the interview, we were watching the VIP meet and greets. And he wouldn't. This wasn't just a sign, take a picture, go. He was actually holding conversations with them, and it was fantastic. It really was.
It was crazy. You'd be like, "Oh no, wait! Let me get some information." I was like, "Wow, he's really legitimately trying to help some people out as well."
He did,
which was awesome of him. But, before you get to the interview, though, we were talking to some couples that was sitting across from us, and we asked him about AEW, and we asked him about the win-loss record thing, and it's like, "Oh, remember we had that conversation with him?"
Yeah.
I can't remember the guy's name, unfortunately. It kind of slips my mind right now. But he's like, how long can they possibly keep that up? And I'm like, I don't know how long they're really going to commit to that. Well, today they added the win-loss records to their website, front and center.
Hey, there you go.
So they put them up. Do you think that they'll be able to commit to that the whole way through? Knowing what we know about pro wrestling? Where
It'll be hard. It'll be hard to do that because they're going to have to address other things. And it will...
You think it will trip up storylines or kind of mess things up for them at some point, you think?
I think
because we've never seen this before.
And like I said, that's where I think they'll have to figure out a way to get around them and explain it to where it won't look like they've just thrown that out the window. And that's going to be hard to do, in my opinion. As we mentioned, we had a chance. We were at the Cap City Comedy Club here in Austin. Got to see the Nice Day Tour. Mick Foley telling stories from his book, Have a Nice Day, which was published 20 years ago. And afterwards, we got to sit down and have a conversation with the WWE Hall of Famer, 2017 Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame inductee, 3-time former world champion, the hardcore legend. And we started out just with him reflecting on that night's show.
Really enjoyed myself. Mark Henry, another WWE Hall of Famer, joined me on stage. That was
a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, man, it's really cool. It's cool. I'm lining up some things tomorrow. We have Len Denton at the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Grappler's fantastic.
Len Denton tells some great stories. So he opened up for me in Portland last year. So I know he's a Texas guy, and invited Len. And we're just you just try to have fun and try to create some a great experience for people and send them home happy they invested the time and money.
Let me ask you this. This book, Have a Nice Day, 20 years ago it came out. Right. What prompted you to do the tour now?
Well, 20 years, a nice, round number. The people who were in their late teens and early 20s, late teens, early 20s was my demographic. Like Rox, for example, about 3-4 years younger than mine. That's just the way the demographics were. So those people are now in their late 30s, early 40s, and the book still means a lot to people. And I knew Bruce Springsteen was doing a tour where he was telling stories from a book he had just written, but it was different because it was Bruce telling the stories. And I read that. I read a review, and I was like, maybe I should do that with my book. And therefore people aren't going, well, what's he going to talk about? Is he going to talk about current events? Is he going to tell jokes? It's like, no, telling you stories you already know. And my hope was that would bring people in instead of keeping them home. But the jury's still out. We've had 3 shows, and things are going really good, and people are having a good time. And because the book is so extensive, I can do different stories on different nights, so people could conceivably come to 3-4 different shows and not hear the same show twice.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, of course, it was great to see Mark Henry. I call him the world's strongest Longhorn fan because he shows up on the horn all the time talking about Longhorn football. You've done comedy tours before.
Yeah.
Do you get the same kind of energy or butterflies that you did when you went in the ring?
No, because, you know what? Years ago I did, like 10 years ago, and Bruce Pritchard and I were doing these shows and starting out, we were so far out of our comfort zone that, I remember, we were terrified. We go out there, we did 16 people in Worcester, Massachusetts. You would have thought we had Mania matches. Like we were really scared, but I've got a lot of time under my belt. And so the nice thing is I don't get as nervous, but I do get the same rewards that I used to get from matches. There are some nights, where it feels so much like being in the ring and you don't get hurt. And a lot of nights I get emotional. Like tonight, you can see when I'm telling a story and I get that tingling in the spine. It's like, man, that's cool. Even if it's a story I've been working on and telling, when you tell it in front of a live audience and you look out in the faces and you see those reactions, it's pretty magical.
Is it almost like an out-of-body experience? Like you're kind of like just reliving it as you're telling it to these people?
There were times when I was really working on a powerful ending to the 20 Years of Hell tour. That it was, and it was almost too powerful. Like once we got it and it was on tape, I was like, I can't go there again. It's too much, we got to lighten it up a little bit. But I was so glad. I remember in Minneapolis was the first time I kind of dabbled in trying to close with something powerful. The guy who was doing the warm-up to me, a great guy named Tim Sullivan, a big wrestling fan, he was like, don't even write it. Just keep working on it every night. Test some things out, and we kind of hit a home run when the cameras were on. But there are plenty of nights when I do feel the type of things I felt when I was in the ring.
Talk with Mick Foley. You follow him on Twitter at Real Mick Foley. You've written several books. Of course, Have a Nice Day started the trend. What is your favorite part besides obviously the completion of the book and publication? What's your favorite part of the writing process?
Well, the first one, the reason this book is so special is because no one thought it was going to sell, myself included. And so it was more about gaining some closure on my career. And, I wrote it in 50 days by longhand. It was close to 200,000 words. And it seemed crazy that a wrestler was writing his own book. And nobody thought it was going to be successful. And then fans, it was like, clearly they had some help from WWE, but it was something they wanted to read. And they made a difference. They carry it with them. I hear stories, all the time about why this book was special to them. I'll open it up 18, 19 years later, in this case 20, and you'll see that it was like the big gift for Christmas 1999, and the parents have put an inscription in there. Yeah, it just touched a lot of people, and I think that it specifically found an audience with people who didn't feel like they fit in. Like, of course, a lot of other people read it, but it really resonated with, young men and women who did not feel like they had a place, and then they suddenly felt like they did.
I have to admit, I'm a little shocked to hear you say that. As the man that coined the expression of shameless self-promotion, I live and die by that because of you. I'm surprised that you, in the confidence that you have and the love that you go out for getting the crowd to pop, that you would have any self-doubt that, you were going to be able to achieve that.
Well, the shameless self-promotion was in part a wink of the eye to like the baby faces of the 80s, I mean, it's like right here. And, in Austin, Texas, it was, you're having fun. Just like the thumbs up was me paying tribute to Owen Hart, doing the 80s baby. Yeah, like, yes. And then when you do house shows, you do that comeback where you'd hit the ground. Come on, you son of a gun. Yeah. I mean, of course I had doubts. I had a lot of just because I shamelessly self-promote things doesn't mean I believe they're going to be successful.
Right.
I have a follow-up for that one. So we talk about your in-ring career. Obviously, you come out and you tell everybody about the stories and what was going through your mind, and a lot of the stuff that we didn't know about before, and some of the stuff even you can't even find in the book because you're giving us new anecdotes each and every night.
Right.
But is there anything in today's product that you look at, and even you, the hardcore legend himself, like, you're like, man, I wouldn't want to have to do that.
Yeah, ladder matches. Honestly, yeah, they up the ante so much. I look at things that I can't explain why certain things don't cause injuries, and I just think it's. I talked about having a very small margin for error, and that sometimes it result in a busted eyebrow. But yeah, I would like to see those things kind of scaled back. I mean, the bar's been set really high. I don't know how you scale them back besides eliminating them. I just think guys trying to top each other creates some injuries.
You mentioned that. I mean, are you afraid that there is going to be a wrestler out there? I don't mean to bring the mood down, but that is going to be like, well, the only way to get the respect is I got to top Mick Foley. And no offense, but like you're kind of like a one in a kind guy,
Well, I think people did try that. I mean, you saw so many guys, coming off Titantrons and doing a lot of things, but there was not another time and a place for that, I mean, what we did that night in the cell was really unique and special, and you can top it with heights and distances and things like that, but I don't know if you'll ever have that unique set of circumstances that made that match so memorable.
Talk with Mick Foley here at the Cap City Comedy Club here in Austin. Mick, before I let you go, and thank you so much for giving us some of your time, give us your thoughts on the current kind of changing landscape in wrestling. SmackDown going to Fox. You got AEW now on TNT. New Japan is growing popularity, and especially because you are such a big supporter of the women's division of women's wrestling. Talk about the current state of women's wrestling, whether it is AEW, WWE, Impact, has Tessa Blanchard, you got WOW Women of Wrestling. Just give me your overall sense of wrestling as it stands here in October of 2019.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about Impact Wrestling and the mark they made, specifically because ODB's food truck burned down, and ODB, had she been involved in the Attitude Era, would have been a huge, huge star. Like at the time it was thought that her look worked against her when actually it's what makes her the best, Mm-hmm. And so now she's a super cool, unique, when I say unique, I mean that in a flattering way. But I love ODB, and she's got this great food truck, and it burned down, and so we're trying to figure out ways to help her out. And so my mind's been on her and how great she was, and how I hope the wrestling community will kind of band together and support her and get that business up and going. But so the Impact women were really revolutionizing women's wrestling in this country before the official wrestling women's revolution. Mm-hmm. And then the women who came from NXT and were trained with Sarah Del Rey, they really set the world on fire. And Becky Lynch, I'm proud to say, is a really good friend and found a way to make herself the biggest star in the business. And there's no shortage of great wrestlers. Tessa Blanchard's doing a great job. I've seen her come so far in the last few years. Like you may not see someone for 6-8 months, maybe a year, and it's like a light switch has been flipped on, and all of a sudden they're like new and incredible. And that's the case, I think, with Tessa. So many great talents out there. Young girls are growing up with a very, noble dream to be a wrestling superstar.
That's awesome. Awesome. Mick Foley, follow him on Twitter at Real Mick Foley. Catch the Nice Day Tour wherever it comes in your area. Tuesday night, Wichita Falls. It's coming to Plano this week. Just catch him on Twitter. You'll see where it's coming. Mick, so good to talk to you again. We saw you in 2017 when you were inducted into the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. All the best to you. Hope you get big crowds throughout the rest of the tour, and hope you have much success.
Thanks so much. I appreciate you guys being here. Have a nice day.
I mean, it was so cool to hear that. By the way, during his show, because we talked last week about Hell in a Cell. Even he said Hell in a Cell does not end in a no contest or disqualification. And this is the man that almost killed himself going through the announce desk and the cell itself. I
know him and The Undertaker making Hell in a Cell what it is. But again, it's to the referee's discretion, right? All matches are to the ref's discretion.
Yeah, but
they really
when
want
you say
to,
anything goes, it should be anything goes.
And anything goes, and the ref decided to stop it. That is
that
part of the word of anything, isn't it?
No,
that's by definition.
Wrong.
Anything.
You're wrong.
I hate to be the devil's advocate on this one, but that's.
If you're listening to us, whether on HornFM.com or the Horn Austin app, or if you're listening on the podcast outside of Austin, make sure you catch the Nice Day Tour. He'll be in Ontario next week.
Ontario, Canada?
Okay. Kingston, Sudbury, and Tilsonburg. I hope I said that right. That'll be next week. And then he'll pick the tour back up in November. He's heading to Massachusetts. He heads to San Jose. He's going to do Columbus, Cleveland, Toledo, Dayton, middle of November. He's going to do December 30th in New York City, January 14th, Jacksonville. He's going to do February, Virginia Beach, Virginia, and April 1st, Tampa, Florida. My guess, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's WrestleMania weekend, which makes sense. Go to realmickfoley.com, and as we said, follow him on Twitter at realmickfoley to find out where you can catch the Nice Day Tour in your area.
And you never know who might show up.
That's right. Like we had Mark Henry. He was at the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame doing his show there. Len Denton, the Grappler.
The Grappler. Now, that guy tells some good stories. But, I didn't realize how legitimately funny Mark Henry is on stage.
Oh, Mark Henry's
absolutely funny.
He's a hoot. We love Mark. So when we come back from this timeout in our podcast-only segment, we'll talk more WWE, including Seth and The Fiend. Apparently, their feud's not going to end anytime soon. We'll talk a little AEW and some news from New Japan Pro Wrestling, including one of our favorites gaining some singles gold. It's all coming up next in the podcast-only segment on Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Damas y caballeros, ladies and gentlemen, this is Ricardo Rodriguez, and you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling podcast-only segment. Stu Myrick, Justin the Smash Simmons. I miss seeing Ricardo around. I know he's killing it down with what's
Crash.
The name? Is it? No, it's not Crash. It's Alberto Del Rio's new promotion in Mexico City.
Escapes my mind.
Nacion Lucha Libre. Nacion Libre. Is that it? It's something like that.
I know he's busy.
I apologize, Ricardo. I got it wrong. But I hope he makes it back to
Matthew,
Central Texas soon. I'll fix it in post. I don't know. But anyway, I know he's killing it there, having a great time. So it was always good to talk to Ricardo when he was here and just get little stories and stuff. And of course, you got to work with him on commentary.
That was awesome.
It was.
I mean, he had a lot of fans in the stands for that AEW match. People kept coming up to him, bringing him beer, wanting to talk with him. I'm like, wow. He's like one of the most popular performers here, and he's just doing the commentary.
He was. He was fantastic. He had great stories and just a sound mind when it comes to pro wrestling.
He's worked all over the world. He's seen he's been with champions and he's trained with some of the best.
Yeah.
And he's made it to the top and he has a lot of knowledge. So
he does.
It was nice of him to share some of that with us.
Some other notes from WWE. What did you think of Bayley? her new look and her new she cut up the.
I mean,
it's
kind of
buddies
funny.
And
it's kind of funny because this is what
screw you all.
I think this is what happened if John Cena had turned heel.
Yeah.
But I mean, it had.
Did you see the video of the kid crying?
Yeah, I was going to say it had the desired effect though. So people are talking about it.
Yes, it did exactly what it was. So, interested to see how things go from here.
That's the key. I'm interested to see what happens.
See how it develops from here. So, Seth versus Fiend at Hell in a Cell, which ended in boos, AEW chants. Seth is not cool. So what do? They double down. We're going to get Seth versus Fiend. Falls count anywhere at Crown Jewel. I don't think they'll boo him there because it's Saudi Arabia and they don't boo anything. But still.
Who's going to win?
Well, okay, if I'm not mistaken, this is a title match.
Yeah.
It's Saudi Arabia. I seriously doubt they're going to have Fiend win the title, especially now that he's on SmackDown. Remember, he got drafted to SmackDown. Seth's still on Raw.
Well, we don't know where Kane's going.
Where who?
Cain Velasquez, who just signed a multi-year deal with the WWE.
That's true.
What about if he beats Brock and then gets drafted to Raw? Then it solves all your issues.
I don't know. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's possible, sure. I don't think they'll do that. I think they're going to keep Universal title on Raw.
We don't think they're going to do a lot lot of things, and then they do it.
Then they do it, and then we all are
Daniel Bryan did win the championship. Finn Balor did win the Universal title.
But again,
Kofi Kingston did win the heavyweight championship.
Not in Saudi Arabia. Remember, they don't. Saudi Arabia shows. Remember, those are glorified house shows.
I know there will be no women's titles that change hands in Saudi Arabia.
Because no women.
Oh well, good. I'm glad you got the joke.
Did you see where he burned the Firefly Funhouse? He burned it down, literally. He looked in the camera, burned it down, and then turned around and lit it on fire.
Isn't that kind of like his gimmick?
To literally set things on fire?
It's kind of like in his song.
Well, remember that doesn't mean he does it.
Wait. Remember,
it's not like he walks around with a lighter in his tights.
Hold on. Remember that WrestleMania entrance when he takes on Triple H or whatever, or Brock, and he comes out with the hammer thing or the sword, and he puts it into the ground, and it all turns to fire, and he burns it down, like literally.
Okay, that was lighting. That was graphics on a ramp.
That not
the same. That was the same ramp they had the maggots during Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton.
Are you saying that the fire that was used last night was real?
Well, yeah, they showed it. They showed the spot where they had the fuel on the table. It was Now, I don't again, this was staged, so who knows? This was probably pre-tape.
Okay, so you're complaining about the fact that he committed arson.
Basically, yes, he committed a crime on Monday Night Raw.
So he committed arson in a house that we really don't know. That really is just maybe the figment of somebody's imagination.
Haven't we seen this before with Bray Wyatt?
Yeah.
Didn't Randy Orton burn his little sister Abigail house down too?
Yeah, and that's why he got all deranged and they had like their feud. And it's not like the house exists anymore. I mean, if it worked for.
This is kind of like the Three Little Pigs, House of Straw, House of Clay, House of Wood or Brick or whatever, What's next? He's going to build another house, and then what happens? Rey Mysterio's going to come and burn it down?
Well, possibly.
Sure.
Why not?
It is kind of funny. Did you see Mike Kanellis?
It's like aren't things supposed to be ridiculous to a certain extent? Like, it's supposed to be tongue in cheek, right?
I know it is.
But and I think it's funny when people get upset and they're like, "Oh, that insults my intelligence as a viewer." I'm like, it's supposed to be tongue in cheek. I think that's how you have to look at it because all the Fiend stuff is tongue in cheek.
Well, but then this kind of goes to what you've been asking the last 2 weeks: what is pro wrestling?
Yeah. Well, we all know what vignettes are. Vignettes are vignettes.
Did you see Mike Kanellis apparently wants out of WWE?
Yeah.
Didn't they just sign a new deal?
Well, I mean, money is money. We've already seen this week
and
what people will do for money.
6 months later, he wants his release.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not like he's being utilized in the way that he prefers to be utilized.
Yeah, he's not being utilized at all. We had the I hate saying this word. The angle where Maria made him her subservient. Let's just say that. I'm gonna try to keep it clean.
Why cuckold?
All right, fine, cuck. It was a cucking thing. Just like now we got it's silly. It's
okay. Look, these kids out there that are listening to this podcast, their parents aren't going to talk to them about sex, so they might as well learn it here.
Ask your parents about this. But yeah, now look, WWE's not going to release them because they haven't released anybody. They
they don't have to if they don't want to.
No, and you're right. They don't have to. It's totally their right. They signed the contract.
And, maybe he doesn't really want to leave either. Maybe this is just trying to call their bluff, which isn't a bad idea. Squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Maybe.
At least I think that's how the saying
goes. Luke Harper ended up with at least a short program. Granted, didn't even get drafted. So which tells me he's probably going to go back to sitting at home. No, he's going to sit at home and collect a paycheck. That'd be okay.
Well, I mean, they still need people to wrestle on main event.
This is true.
You forget about like EC3 and all the other guys that.
Well, EC3 got drafted to Raw.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh.
That was in the additional picks after. So Friday night, Saturday morning, the additional picks. That didn't go. Raw got EC3, Eric Young, and Sin Cara. I didn't even know Sin Cara was still in WWE. SmackDown got Apollo Crews, Drew Gulak, Heath Slater, Tamina, and the B Team.
Oh, I knew about Gulak.
No one meaner than Tamina.
Because I saw the tweet that Daniel Bryan said.
Yeah, Daniel Bryan wants to wrestle Drew Gulak. That would be a good match.
Well, yeah, because for once it's like a guy that's his same exact size.
Yes.
So he could go through his whole entire repertoire of everything he could possibly do, to the safest of his ability right now with Gulak, and I think it would be a fantastic match. I could just imagine the scientific factor. Do people even enjoy that anymore?
What's that? Scientific wrestling?
Yeah, I mean,
I think so.
Like you have Zack Sabre Jr. and you have what's his name, Jonathan Gresham, that really base a lot of their style around the technical aspect and scientific aspect of professional wrestling.
Yeah.
But I was talking with my cousin, who's like my roommate at the same token, the other day, and he's like, "Man, is there ever going to be another guy like Bret Hart?" And I'm like, "Well, everybody has to kind of like fly around now, so I don't think there will ever necessarily be another Bret Hart because of the way that Bret worked."
Right.
I don't think anybody wants to see that anymore.
I don't.
Like there's a market
sad.
For things like
there is a market. Yes.
But that type of wrestler would never be your main draw.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, you're probably right.
But don't you think that's kind of sad, though?
Oh, it is. It is because I think there is something to be said for a, 15 to 18 minute, lots of holds and counter holds and everything, without all the flips and everything. And look, I like the flips just like everybody else. But I like a good ground-based match if it tells a good story, and there's been a good story to build up to it. And it's two guys that know what they're doing, like Daniel Bryan and Drew Gulak. I think it'd be fascinating to watch.
I guess my thing is like take for instance the private party match against the Young Bucks, and there's that one spot where he's just going magnificent athleticism where he's just jumping over the third rope to the outside like 3 times in a row, something crazy like that. But I'm like, if this is the norm, then what do you have to do for this to become exciting again? Like I asked Mick Foley yesterday, you remember? What match would you not want to compete in now? And he's like, well, ladder matches because they just take it to another notch.
Yeah, you're right.
That even he doesn't want to take it to? I mean, that's got to be... The guy fell off an 18-foot cage.
Right.
For our amusement.
Yes.
And he wouldn't want to compete if you had to do this all over again in the current state of ladder matches, because I mean, come on, I've seen some guys just take it to a completely other level. And I'm like, where's the story though?
I think back to Ladder War 6 with Young Bucks and the Addiction, and who else was in that one? It was 3 teams. Was it Motor City Machine Guns?
Maybe.
But I think back to that one, and that was, and I thought that was insane. And then, like you said, seeing,
what was it, like Lucha Bros versus Young Bucks? That was crazy.
Oh my God, that was nuts.
Yeah, I was just like, some of the moves they took, I was just like, wow. I'm surprised you're walking the next morning.
We're recording, we've got Access TV is re-showing Slammiversary from Dallas, and I was there, and I remember seeing the Lucha Brothers versus LAX.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
That was insane.
Yeah, it's like a straight up.
I mean, it's just and you're right. There is a limit. There is, eventually physics catches up with you to where you can't. There are certain things that you can't do, and but they try to step. Do I see that as the norm now? I don't. Not yet.
Really?
It's getting close. It's getting dangerously close.
Don't you feel that every world champion can basically complete a dive to the outside on the regular now?
Yeah, but a dive, I mean, a suicide dive is one thing.
Wait. Now I'm going to pull. Wait. Let me pull the card this time.
A Canadian destroyer off a ladder. That's a little different.
I know, but look, let me tell you from experience here, because I actually done this. It hurts.
Oh, I'm
and
fully aware.
And there's a reason why it's called a suicide dive.
Right. And you don't want to see those in every match, because then.
But we do see them in every match, multiple times in every match.
You start to get numb to it,
and it's a transition move instead of something that used to be saved for like a big occasion.
Yeah,
and it's just like, sometimes I'm just like, I think guys can do a little bit more with less and preserve some wear and tear on their bodies. But I kind of feel that this new crowd of wrestling fans, in a certain instance, and maybe I'm starting to get old, but like. They have almost like a bloodlust for the extreme. And don't get me wrong, the ECW crowd had that bloodlust for the extreme. But
I actually totally agree with you. I think fans expect too much.
Like sometimes
they get to the point where they forget that these are
it's a human being.
Yeah, these are human beings, putting their bodies through successive car crashes for their amusement.
Like sometimes I find Alley Cat quite amusing on Twitter, but sometimes I see her going through table after table, taking some nasty bumps, and I'm like, oh, I don't like. I'm amused by the personality that you show in your tweets, and like if in your passion for the sport, and that you like to go through what you do. But sometimes I'm like. I'm like, wow, maybe you just didn't need to take that bump. That looked like it really hurt.
There's something that you said long ago that has always stuck with me. There's only so many punches on your bump card.
Yeah, you only get so many, and then it's just over, and you just never know.
Yeah, it's just, I'm there with you.
And I'm just man, suicide dives, I'm telling you, I've gone from the top to the outside. I've taken the falls off of ladders.
Yeah,
I've come from the top rope, got superplexed onto ladders. Like, I've done it. And let me just tell you, like, it's not fake. It's predetermined, and it hurts. But it kind of saddens me that we have now grown numb to those big time moves. And these guys, granted, they're superb men and women, superb athletes now, because the athleticism is on another level.
Yes,
that's what makes me think like you might never ever see another Bret Hart, because now everybody has to complete these jumps in order to kind of hang with everybody else and take these. And I wouldn't want to take a Canadian destroyer off the top onto a ladder. Personally, I probably wouldn't agree to it.
I wouldn't want to take a Canadian destroyer on the mat.
I know. That's why you have to have extreme trust in the person who's performing this move to hang on to you.
Yeah.
But I think this is why we won't also see another wrestler like Mick Foley either.
No.
Because I don't think anybody is willing to take that much damage like that.
I say that, but
There is the deathmatch crowd. Guys like Masada, who's a good friend of ours.
Yeah.
Guys like Casanova Valentina. Guys like Nick Gage.
That's right, Nick Gage.
Masada, he is a phenomenal wrestler, but he's made his name with the death matches. I mean, everybody wants to see him put 24 skewers in somebody's forehead.
Yeah, I wouldn't even want to take the skewers.
Yeah.
Like the people that agree to get that done, more power to you. I'm just like, wow, that looks like it really hurts. Legitimately hurts.
We haven't talked a lot of AEW, and a lot of that's because the radio show airs on Wednesday nights, which is ironically when AEW airs. Give me your thoughts on the Inner Circle.
Honest
thoughts? What'd you think? Is it early? It seemed to me, and I want to get your thoughts. It seemed to me like it was a little early to start making factions already.
Nah, we all know.
But I like it. It's fine.
Even the guy that we were speaking with at the Mick Foley thing, who was there with his wife, he even mentioned that he was excited with the fact that they had factions. And I go, yeah, factions were a big key to the success of pro wrestling forever.
In New Japan, that's a big deal. And they will,
Well, I mean,
the wrestlers are identified by their faction, whether it's Chaos or LIJ or Bullet Club.
You just have to look at Von Erichs. You just have to look at the Freebirds. Yeah. You just have to look at Heenan's family.
Mm-hmm. The Four Horsemen, Devastation Incorporated.
True factions, and then you have to remember the Attitude Era was comprised of nothing but factions for the most part. DX, DOA. The Nation of Domination, and I believe there was
the Misfits.
There was the Oddities.
Yeah, the Oddities.
Then you also had the Undertaker's Ministry faction,
the Ministry of Darkness,
and then it became the Corporate Ministry, right? So I mean, that was really the key to the success at the time, and I think it's really never changed. And AEW is trying to tap into that, and they realize, hey, and we also realized. And these promoters realized it very, very early on. If you pair your best wrestlers with some younger talent, you can build them up through association, just like Evolution.
And you look at the makeup of the Inner Circle with Chris Jericho as the champion. You've got Santana Ortiz, your dominant tag team. You got Jake Hager, the Muscle, and then, as you mentioned, the young guy, our bud, Sammy Guevara, there. To round it out.
Now, I will say I was hoping that he would go with a more like hair metal reference for the name of his group.
You mean Jericho?
Yeah. It could have been like the Jericho Army. It could have been something like Judas Circle. It could have been something.
See, now Judas Circle would be kind of cool because of the Judas effect,
or like the Circle of Knights or something dumb-ish.
The Circle of Knights.
He would have made it work, but
I thought he was going.
But Inner Circle
for a while, because he mentioned about like Jake Hager made the list and Santana Ortiz. I thought he was going to call him the List.
The List, the Listicles.
No, just the List. It was like, oh my God, he's brought back the List. I guess WWE didn't copyright that. So,
I forgot about the List.
Yeah. They showed. Have you seen AEW Dark yet?
Yeah, I catch it. I mean, I really, just catch it when I can catch it.
It's cool to see the matches that they show. The dark matches that they have for their shows.
You mean like main event?
It's kind of like a main event, except that these could be on the TV. Like, for instance, they just had Kenny Omega versus Joey Janela in an unsanctioned fight.
Yeah. So you're saying that's. So let me ask you this nicely. Are you saying that you would like AEW to go to 3 hours so they can fit that on there?
No.
Because that's all they have to do to put it on TV is just give them an extra hour.
Don't do 3 hours. You saw what it did to Nitro. You see what it's doing to Raw. Don't do 3 hours. I like the way they've broken it up. And that's fine. If they want to do that, it's kind of like having the dark match after Raw, where they have, like, for instance, Monday night, they had Seth Rollins and The Fiend again. That's fine. If you want to, tape those for your YouTube series, that's fantastic. I love that. And if you can do that to keep from going to 3 hours, more power to you, please.
We were talking to some couples that was sitting across from us, and we asked them about AEW, and we asked them about the win-loss record thing, and it's like, oh, remember we had that conversation with him?
Yeah.
I can't remember the guy's name, unfortunately. It kind of slips my mind right now, but he's like, how long can they possibly keep that up? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know how long they're really going to commit to that. Well, today they added the win-loss records to their website, front and center.
Hey, there you go.
So they put them up. Do you think that they'll be able to commit to that the whole way through, knowing what we know about pro wrestling? Where
It'll be hard. It'll be hard to do that because they're going to have to address other things, and it will.
You think it will trip up storylines or kind of mess things up for them at some point? You think?
I think
because we've never seen this before.
And like I said, that's where I think they'll have to figure out a way to get around them and explain it to where it won't look like they've just thrown that out the window. And that's going to be hard to do, in my opinion. NWA Power.
No, that has been fun.
That has been really fun.
It fits well within my schedules on Tuesdays for some reason. So and since it's on YouTube, you can basically just catch it anywhere.
Tonight, Ricky Starks.
Yeah, he had a nice match
with Trevor Murdoch. It was great to see.
But it was
Absolute.
cool. It was cool to see Trevor Murdoch though. It was like, random Trevor Murdoch.
Yeah,
and then people actually recognized Ricky Starks, so that was nice.
Yeah,
people already knew it was Stroke Daddy.
Man, we he's so good. He really is.
Yeah, he's good.
That's why he's the pure prestige champion in Inspire Pro.
Well, I was going to say his post-interview was really entertaining, too.
Oh, he was fantastic.
I think he really sold himself with the crowd, and people who didn't know him beforehand, I think he won over a lot of people.
I hope so. He, the rest of wrestling fandom has now gotten to see what we get to see, in Inspire Pro and some of the other promotions around here. How good Ricky Starks is, both in the ring, on the mic, just so good. What was the other thing I was thinking about on there? We had Colt Cabana and Mr. Anderson as a tag team.
Talk about surprises.
Interesting. That was good. Yeah, it was. It continues to really.
Well, I was going to ask you now, who won the tag team match? Because I didn't get to see the very, very end. It's Eddie Kingston.
It was
against the Wild Cards,
right? And then the Dawsons came in, or the Dawson brothers came in and interfered, so they ruled it a no contest.
Okay.
And then the show ended with. Did it end with the interview with Nick Aldis and Camille?
No, it was before the.
That was before. Then it was the tag match.
Yeah.
So,
but I like the pacing of the show.
Yes.
It hits a lot of the right beats. Jim Cornette, love him or hate him, he's fantastic for NWA.
He is.
He's so good. And Joe's really starting to kind of grow into his spot now.
Yeah, Joe Galley.
Now I see why they got a television guy to shoot certain things, because he's really going to be – he's a key asset for the vignettes.
Right. So, yeah, just all in all, just fantastic. Fantastic first two episodes. Looking forward to the rest.
Waiting to see Thunder Rosa. Waiting to see her make her appearance.
She does make an appearance. It might be. We'll have to find out.
Yeah, we really don't know.
Because I don't know how. And they may have taped it out of order.
True.
So we'll see. I don't know, but I think it'll be. We'll be thrilled to see Thunder Rosa.
But I'm wondering what other surprises they're going to pull out. So far, it's been really entertaining, and I think they're going to have Tim Storm back.
In fact, they mentioned next week's show, Tim Storm will address his future.
But it's like, if you want to see somebody do pro wrestling in an hour, and it doesn't have to have the biggest setup and still be entertaining, NWA hits that.
You need to check it out.
It's like the right amount for hey, I got time to watch this.
NWA Power, 6:05 p.m. Eastern, every Tuesday on YouTube.
But my big gripe still is they need to give at least one person intro music. If it's a big match. Because I understand what they're going for, but the intro music would really help.
They even play intro music on the TBS shows. So it would be nice if they added
they have that excellent Dawkins track for their theme song, and it's like it sets a really good tone, but I'm kind of expecting to hear something similar to that for the rest of their show as it paces through, and you don't, because you don't play any wrestler music.
Right.
And I understand that's part of some of the aesthetic they were going for, like when it first started, but even by the 80s everybody had music.
Switch over to New Japan. First of all, King of Pro Wrestling happened Monday. Congratulations. I could not be more happy. Lance Hoyt, the American Psycho, is now Lance Hoyt, the IWGP United States Champion.
Oh, that's awesome, because I have called, I think you were with me, but I called the Lance Hoyt match once. So it's like I do have one on my record. And there was also that time. There was also that time he came up and like scared me as well.
Yeah, he's scary. I'm glad he's a friend. If you did not know, it was slated to be Jon Moxley defending the title against Juice Robinson. Because of the typhoon that was hitting Japan, several wrestlers could not make it to the King of Pro Wrestling shows. And that included Will Ospreay, included Zack Sabre Jr., and included Jon Moxley.
Okay, see, that adds a little different take to some of the things that people were saying, where they're all like, oh, well, they just didn't want him to look weak over in Japan.
It was the matter of fact that
there's like a legitimate typhoon.
It's a typhoon. It's an act of nature. It's an act of God that a flight cannot make it from. And I think Moxley lives in Las Vegas, so he could not fly from Las Vegas to Tokyo.
Ric Flair would have made it
because of the typhoon.
He would have taken a ship.
And gotten there in 6 weeks.
Chief Wahoo would have made it.
But as is New Japan's policy, no matter what, if you can't be there, they strip you of the title.
Yeah.
So they stripped Jon Moxley the United States Championship. Juice Robinson now has no opponent. So Lance Hoyt says, hey, I'll wrestle for it, and let's keep it a no DQ match. Say they get an all-out war. In the end, Lance Hoyt hits the EBD claw on Juice. Lance Hoyt is now the U.S. champion. So
glad to see he's getting the push that he's been working for this whole time.
Yeah, and it's been a long time. He had the long run with Davey Boy Smith Jr. as the Killer Elite Squad, many IWGP tag titles, but now getting some singles going.
Yeah, it's always different though when you become a solo act, and it's all about, are you going to survive or are you going to flounder? Because let's admit, some guys just can't make that transition. That's why tag teams are tag teams. Sometimes you're just trying to protect the weaknesses of one performer. But there was a really nice write-up for him in the Dallas Morning Telegram? Dallas Morning News? Okay,
Dallas
that's what it's
News.
Called.
Dallas Morning News, Fort Worth Star Telegram. But you're right, it was Dallas Morning News.
Yeah, so...
because he is from the Dallas area.
He's kind of just hit like over 40. So, this is the point of his career that it's like, it's supposed to be kind of winding down at some instance. And it's great to see that, hey, but after the back injury that he had to go through the surgery, and then now with New Japan... worried about, just like the rest of the pro wrestling world, like, where's your talent going to come from? Are you going to be able to keep it? Can you maintain the talent that you've already grown? They're actually giving him the ball because he's been one of those guys that's really grown ever since he's been as part of New Japan.
He has, and he had a great showing during the G1 tournament. So now he gets a chance to run with the U.S. title, and hopefully this means hopefully we'll see him. I know that I think it was David Finlay that attacked him afterwards, so they may set up a rivalry with those two. Who knows? That might be at Wrestle Kingdom. We'll see. Speaking of Wrestle Kingdom, they held the press conference, the official press conference for Wrestle Kingdom 14. A couple things came out of that. First of all, it is now official. Kazuchika Okada will defend the IWGP Heavyweight Championship against Kota Ibushi. Kota Ibushi was successful in his defense of that championship spot during King of Pro Wrestling. So it will be Okada versus Ibushi on January 4th. Okada has said he wants to defend the title on both nights. Remember, Wrestle Kingdom is going to be 2 nights this time, January 4th and 5th.
Which is a little crazy. Do you think that kind of diminishes Wrestle Kingdom a bit, making it 2 nights instead of one night?
I don't know. I want to see how they book it, because right now we only know Okada Ibushi.
I'm like, but how does that affect? Because in some instances, I want this to succeed. In other instances, I kind of want it to fail because it's almost
you want
like
it just one night.
Well, from a fan standpoint, I mean, I think about the logistics, travel, lodging, money on tickets, food. Like how much are it's like almost taking like a cruise almost if you want to go see 2 nights of Wrestle Kingdom.
Because remember, you'll also have New Year's Dash on the 6th.
Yeah, shortly afterward, right?
The next night.
Yeah, so it's just kind of like how, like that was the issue. Was it with ROH or was it with New Japan as well, as they were running some other buildings recently? And the turnaround was just too quick to other big events, and they weren't drawing as much as they were expecting to draw.
I don't know. I don't know which one, because New Japan sold out. If you're talking about the tour they did on the East Coast, they sold out all 3 buildings. So I can't remember. Maybe it was ROH. But be that as may, so it'll be Okada versus Ibushi on January 4th. Okada wants to defend the title, assuming he has the title.
Well, we all know what's going to happen, right?
On January 5th.
He's going to have the title, and then he's going to defend it against Naito. And this is when
because Naito wants to be now. Naito has lost the IC title to Jay White, but Naito, just like Ibushi, wanted to be the first person to hold the Intercontinental and Heavyweight Championships simultaneously.
I know, we were hoping for Naito 2 belts.
The other bit of news, Jushin Thunder Liger, he's been on this retirement tour. They have announced that on January, he's going to have 2 retirement matches. January 4th, he will be in a 8-man tag, Jushin Thunder Liger, Grace Suzuki, Tiger Mask, and Tatsumi Fujinami.
Yeah.
To take on Naoki Sano, Shinjiro Otani, Tatsuhito Takaya, and Risuke Taguchi, excuse me. So that's night 1.
So you're talking about like the former or the Pro Wrestling Hall of Famer.
Yes, the 2017 Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame inductee.
Yes.
Our friend. We get to call him our friend now. Tatsumi Fujinami. So that's night 1. They have not announced the match for night 2, but that will be on January 5th, and then they will hold his retirement ceremony on January 6th I assume at New Year's Dash.
Yes.
So, and he has said we will get Jushin Thunder Liger. We will not get Kishin Liger or any other Liger. It will be Jushin Thunder Liger because that'll be the last time you see him as Jushin Thunder Liger in the ring. So.
Yeah, but then I wonder if he comes back as just like himself. And he just retires the Liger character.
Well, I mean, he may come back and do like commentary under his real name or something. Who knows? But be that as may.
But doesn't he already do commentary as it is?
He does some. They have all sorts of people. They had Tanahashi doing commentary during King of Pro Wrestling. So, be that as may.
They don't have the young wrestlers just coming out and doing commentary now too.
No, they don't. But yeah, that'll be a really special night, and all I can say is I am so thankful I got to see him twice this year, both at G1 Supercard and at the G1 opening night in Dallas. So that'll be a special time to celebrate the career of one of the greatest ever to grace the squared circle anywhere, whether it's Japan, the United States, you name it. So anyway, so a lot of good stuff coming out of New Japan. We'll keep you posted on that. When we come back from this timeout, we will let you know what's happening in independent wrestling around the area. You're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
This is WWE superstar Charlotte Flair, and you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. Remember, if you're going to do it with Flair. Woo!
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the horn. Stu Myrick, Justin the Smash Simmons.
You mean the 11-time world champion?
10.
Well,
She's got 10.
You might as well just say 11 now and get used to it because it's going to happen.
It will happen soon, yes. Yeah. I'm about to ask you, by the way, what did you think of Bayley? Before we get to independent wrestling, what did you think of Bayley? Her new look and her new she cut up the.
I mean, it's
Bayley
kind of
buddies
funny.
And
it's kind of funny because this is what
screw you all.
I think this is what happened if John Cena had turned heel.
Yeah.
But I mean, it had.
Did you see the video of the kid crying?
Yeah, I was going to say it had the desired effect though. So people are talking about it.
Yes, it did exactly what it was. So, interested to see how things go from here.
That's the key. I'm interested to see what happens.
See how it develops from here. As for this weekend, we've got some independent wrestling to tell you about. We will start right here in Central Texas. In fact, just down the road in Buda. Mission Pro Wrestling. Their debut event, it's called Genesis. It'll be this Friday at a place you and I are familiar with, Pinball's Kingdom in Buda, the former home of NWA Pro Wrestling Texas. Bell time will be 7 p.m. The Latin Heartthrob Gino, which has got to be one of his last indie dates before he goes to MLW.
If you can catch him.
The former NWA Women's World Champion Jazz will be there, Thunder Rosa, Alex Gracia, and more. That's Mission Pro Wrestling. Genesis, Friday night at Pinball's Kingdom in Buda. Texoma Pro Wrestling presents Happy Halloween Friday at the Sherman Elks Lodge. Bell time 8 p.m. The new IWGP United States Heavyweight Champion Lance Hoyt will be there. Jerome Daniels Griffey will be there. Will Allday and more. That's Texoma Pro Wrestling Friday night in Sherman. And the Texas Wrestling Federation presents Halloween Hoax Saturday at the Fiesta Ballroom in Seguin. Bell time 8 p.m. Mr. B, Mike Friska, Hyon, and David Diaz will be there, among others. That's the Texas Wrestling Federation Saturday night in Seguin.
Ooh, you're getting Mr. B at a Halloween show.
There you go.
Man, no, it's always he always puts on a good show no matter where he may be. But Halloween, he always puts it up an extra notch for Halloween.
Well, he's got this whole the purge thing, entrance thing that he likes to do. So
yeah,
I'm sure that will be in full effect in Seguin.
Oh, definitely.
So make sure you go see some pro wrestling in your area, wherever it may be. So this weekend, what do you got?
I mean, I work basically sometimes even when the show is airing. I do like the Lex Luger thing. But
that's right.
I'm actually not working this Wednesday, but I have soccer. I have the double on Thursday. I'm supposed to cover men's soccer for St. Edwards, and then I have to get to San Antonio for the San Antonio Independent School District Game of the Week.
Oh, okay.
On KSAT.
Okay.
I think we stream it on KSAT.com.
Do we? And you usually don't know the teams beforehand, right?
I don't do that research on Thursday. I usually do it like the day before.
Yeah, no, I get you.
And honestly, the district that we cover, it's kind of like, what is it, 25-6A? Is that the Lake Travis district?
That's Lake Travis, Westlake.
Okay, yeah, it's like that, where it's like, okay, the two best teams are the two best teams. We don't get to see the two best teams play anybody of any real note, so right. It's kind of been like that.
It's kind of like what I see throughout the season, except for 1 week.
Except for what you saw last week,
Except for yes, this past week, Lake Travis, in what has to be one of the best games we've seen at Cavalier Stadium, eked out the win against Westlake. Battle of the Lakes, a great defensive battle. Westlake missed a 43-yard field goal to win it. It fell short, so Lake Travis hands Westlake their first defeat. Lake Travis has the inside track for the District 25-6A championship. They have a bye this week, which they need because a lot of bumps and bruises. They can get healed up before they go to Del Valley next week.
That game might not be as easy as originally thought.
I've heard Del Valley is in good shape.
I was going to say they have a 2-2 district record, but Del Valley's been playing everybody tough this year, and they've been blowing out teams that they should be beating, but they've been blowing them out.
Right.
So I think at least the first half of play, it should be rather competitive.
Well, the key, we'll see what happens this week because they play Westlake. Because, again, with the way the schedule is for the district, everybody gets Westlake then Lake Travis back-to-back. So this week they get Westlake.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. In Westlake, of course, they're going to be coming off the loss. So that Friday night, we're off. Make sure you catch the rest of the games across the ABC Home and Commercial Services High School Football Network. That includes Bowie. That includes Vandergrift, Anderson, Austin High, you name it. Catch that. Go to hornfm.com for all the info. Saturday, Longhorns and Kansas. Longhorns coming off that close loss to Oklahoma. They are welcoming the Fighting Les Miles to DKR Texas Memorial Stadium.
Trap game.
I don't doubt it for 1 second.
Especially with the banged up secondary. I mean, this is a definite possible win for Kansas. This would be the time to strike.
Right. Kickoff is 6 o'clock. You can hear that all across the Austin Radio Network. And, of course, pregame will start at least 4 hours early from Bevo Boulevard and Schultz Garden. So check that out. And then Sunday, you know what? I don't even care. I don't even care. The Cowboys lost to the stinking Jets.
Still kind of besides myself about that.
The stinking Jets.
Well, they were going to have to get a win at some point.
But against the Cowboys?
Blame the play calling. It's not like they were giving the best effort. It's kind of like when Vince McMahon takes over things, right? And people are like, "Oh yeah, they had Vince's fingerprints all over it."
He ruined it. Anyway, it's Cowboys Eagles Sunday night.
That's a big game, though. It's a huge game. It's Sunday night. If you go to Mr. Tramps, I know they're not one of our sponsors, but that's where the Cowboys and the Eagles fans meet. So that's a rowdy, Philly-like ECW atmosphere in that place. I swear, like there's gonna be blood spilled a couple of times, but it's all in good fun.
Anyway, that's a 7:20 kick.
But the winner of that match will put themselves in the driver's seat as the leader of the NFC East.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath.
But there's not going to be a wild card winner from the NFC East. So whoever goes to the playoffs from the NFC East has to win the division. So the Cowboys need to win this game.
Yeah. Anyway, that's Cowboys Eagles 7:20 p.m. and you can hear that on the horn as well. Before we wrap up, we're going to do something a little bit different, because again, this show airs at the same time as AEW and NXT. So we're going to do a special Sports Guys Talking Wrestling Wednesday Night Wars podcast. It should come out on Thursday. We'll recap everything that happens with AEW and NXT. So be on the lookout for that, either on hornfm.com or across your favorite podcast provider. And that'll do it for this week's Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. You can follow Justin the Smash Simmons on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at The Smash Simmons. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Stu Myrick. That's STEWMYRICK. You can follow the show on Twitter at SGTWATX. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. We are proud to be the official broadcast partner of the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, and we're proud to be part of the great lineup you hear every day on the flagship station for the Texas Longhorns and your radio home in Austin for the Dallas Cowboys. We are The Horn. Catch us Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. Central on The Horn, or catch us anytime on demand by going to hornfm.com and click on the on-air tab, or by subscribing to us on your favorite podcast platform. Our thanks to the hardcore legend Mick Foley for joining us, and our thanks to you for giving us a little bit of your time tonight. For Justin, I'm Stu. We will see you at the matches.
Goodbye and good night.